morning. May peace be upon you. This is Professor Shukr again, and today what I'm going to talk about is designing, making a lesson plan. If you want to teach something to the students, then we should have a plan with us. Like if you want to make a home, then we should have a plan how to construct a home. So first of all, we design the home and then we build the home. Instructional events refer to actions of both teacher and learner during the teaching sessions or sessions. There are events which are called as the teaching events, instructional events, and these events occur during the process when the teacher teaches and the students learn. Selecting appropriate event and planning them in the right format and right sequence is crucial in successful lesson design. So therefore, if we are designing a lesson plan or you're making a plan, then there are certain events. These events we should be aware of, and not only we should be aware of, we should know by which sequence they should be put, so that when actually we teach the students learn. Just like if you're making a design or a plan of a home, we have a blueprint. First we lay down its plan of the rooms. After that is the event when we place the electric circuit in those papers, then the plumbing, and in the last how the furniture is going to be placed. Once that blueprint is ready with us, the design, then we build the home. Just like that. In instructional events, there are events and these events have to be put. And let me explain you. A lesson design is a plan showing the type of instructional events. So therefore, there are 3 steps. In the first step, before making a design of the plan, develop the instructional objective or learning objectives. Like, before making a design or a blueprint of a house we want to build, then we should be very clear. Okay, what are the learning outcomes? How many people are going to live there? Children, adult, how many rooms we need, and so on and so forth. Then comes making a lesson plan in the last, after going through the exercise of teaching, reflection. We're not talking about instructional outcomes or instructional objectives. We are going to concentrate today on applying Gagne's 9-step model to ensure an effective and systemic learning experience, as it gives structure to the lesson plan and a holistic view of the teaching. Robert Gagne, amazing man. He's considered father of the instructional design, which could be conditions of learning, 9 steps of learning. One of the foremost contributors to the systematic approach to instructional design, and his theory has provided a great number of valuable ideas for trainees and teachers both. Gagne's model of instructional design is based on information processing model of the mental events. Remember cognitivism? Remember constructivism, educational theories? So therefore, Gagne's 9 steps are in fact an instructional theory. And it is based on information processing model of the mental events. How the information processing occurs in the human brain, how the memory system works, how the information is stored into the long-term memory and retrieved. Gagne's theories have been applied to the design of instruction in several domains, and one of the domains is healthcare. Interestingly, Gagne, he was in World War II, he was in Air Force, and he used to train the pilots. And when he used to train the pilots, he realized that there are certain events, if he keeps those events in mind, and when he was designing how to train the pilots, put them in their proper places, then the pilots learn and they become par excellence pilots. From there, his conditions and events originated. There are 9 events. First event is gain attention. Second, state outcomes, instructional objectives. Third event, stimulate recall of prior knowledge. Gain attention, information processing model. Attention is the mental energy through which the information goes into the working memories and from working memories into the long-term memories, and attention is required to retrieve it back. State outcome. State outcome gains attention also. It produces the relevance also. It gives a broad and holistic picture to the students what they are going to learn. Stimulate recall of prior knowledge. Remember, the new information is put on the previous knowledge so that one learns. So therefore, one had to bring into awareness of the students what they actually already know. Then obviously present stimulus, give new material to them to learn, not only provide learning guidance, how they are going to assimilate that information, and not only assimilate that information, put that into long-term memory so at the time it could be retrieved. Illicit performance after obviously, and then feedback on their performance so that they know they are learning correctly or not, and they are modifying themselves, and once they have learned, assess performance, which is the examination, and lastly enhance retention and transfer of the information in different context. Let me repeat. First event, gain attention. Second, state outcome. Third, stimulate recall of prior knowledge. Fourth, present stimulus material. Fifth, provide learning guidance. Sixth, elicit performance. Seventh, provide feedback on the performance. Eighth, assess performance. Ninth, enhance retention and transfer. Let's repeat. Gain attention, state outcome, stimulate recall of prior knowledge, present stimulus material, provide learning guidance, elicit performance, provide feedback, assess performance, and enhance retention and transfer. Now what I am going to do is repeat each step, keeping in mind the information processing model and what mental processes are occurring, and I am going to explain you by one example also. So let's proceed. First is gain attention. Mental process, as I was telling you, it stimulates students' interest, attention, and it motivates the person to learn. So the mental processes of reception and attention is the energy required so that the student is receptive and puts information into the long-term memory. This can be simply done by resolving distractions, knocking on the table, showing audio clips, telling any related story, and different methods of gaining attention. Advantage is the attentive learners are better able to process and put the information into working memory, and hence from that into long-term memory, as I was telling you. So I am going to take and walk you through acute appendicitis is a common disease, inflammation of the appendix with destruction in the right lower abdomen. If you recall, it's an emergency and all medical students should know acute appendicitis. So first event is gain attention, providing an interesting visual or sound stimulus photograph, pictures and sound. These are the different methods could be used. So when I am designing my design of the plan how to teach them acute appendicitis, I am going to gain attention by showing a photo of a patient of acute appendicitis and a photo of a specimen of an inflamed appendix. This is the method which I am choosing. When I am going to teach them acute appendicitis, this is the plan which I am making at present. Second is inform student of the learning objective. So mental processes are expectancy. Students are made aware of what to expect, to be prepared to receive information. This is also the relevance. Learning instructional objectives can be written on white blackboard, spoken verbally, highlighted in presentation. Simply spoken of. There are different methods. Advantage is learning objectives give a roadmap to learners. They will prepare themselves to organize their thoughts. Very important. Coming back to my example, out of all the methods of stating learning outcomes of instructional objectives, I have chosen PowerPoint slide. So therefore, upon completion of this lesson, you will be able to manage a patient with acute appendicitis. This is an instructional learning objective, and since I am going to cover it in many ways, so therefore you can also call it a specific learning outcome. Third is stimulate recall of prior knowledge. The mental process is retrieval, because when you are stimulating the recall of the prior knowledge that is lying in the long-term memory and you're retrieving that information back. Assist students in remembering what they already know about the concepts retrieval. The teacher should refer to previous instruction and discuss previous topics. Prior knowledge is fundamental to constructing new concept, connecting new and previous knowledge. Now that is the advantage. For example, many methods to acquire prior knowledge. For example, asking questions during a lecture, during a small group discussion, even giving a pretest before a workshop, even simply discussion among students. That all helps to activate the prior knowledge. In my case, I am going to ask questions to activate prior knowledge, and I am going to ask two questions. Have you used Alvarado scoring system to diagnose acute appendicitis? And how do you perform the examination? Can you tell me the steps? Or can you demonstrate me? By doing this, I am going to activate the prior knowledge. Mind you, this is a plan which I am going to make, and I am going to execute it when I am going to teach them. Then let's present stimulus. Provide students with the material and stress key element, selective perception. Now is the time to give them information. If the domain of instruction is providing knowledge, then a lecture, a small group discussion, a video, giving them a chapter to review is appropriate, and in skill, the teacher should demonstrate steps of procedure or show them a video which is demonstrating the steps of the procedure. Chunking information into meaningful subsets assists the learner in sequential remembering component. Remember chunking the information? Fourth is now translating into acute appendicitis. What I have planned is there will be 3 sessions: one lecture, one bedside teaching session, and one a clinical skill lab session. So in that lesson, I am planning 3 classes. In lecture, I am going to cover the knowledge domain of learning. In bedside session, performance and attitude, and clinical skill lab, skills and attitude. Domains of learning related to acute appendicitis. In a class of lecture, I am going to tell about facts, concepts and management principles. We'll teach them. And in this fact, concept, management principle, Alvarado score, complicated and uncomplicated acute appendicitis are the concepts which I am going to give special emphasis. In bedside session class, examination and management will be taught, especially performing McBurney clinical tests and advising appropriate investigation and treatment. And clinical skills lab, I am going to teach them taking body temperature properly, because in Alvarado scoring system, one important component is what is the temperature of the patient. This is my design. This is my plan how to teach them acute appendicitis. Fifth is provide learning guidance. Provide the student new information with examples and explanation. Now, providing learning guidance, if done properly, then the information that goes into long-term memory, it goes in a very organized way and they tend to remember it. Teacher can provide detailed rubrics, give explicit instructions on expectation for the learning context and the timeline for completion. Obviously, when you're going to give plan, you're going to tell them a timeline also. Okay, when we are going to hold lecture, when we are going to hold a small group discussion, when there we go to a skill lab, in what sequence and what method we are going to use. Provide learner guidance entail giving learners the scaffolding and tools needed to be successful in the learning context. Let me give you an example. Example, acute appendicitis. In lecture, the new information would be facts, concepts and principles will be added on previous knowledge of acute appendicitis, and complicated concepts will follow the basic concept, and the principles will be taught after the concept and the fact before the concept. In bedside session, as this is bedside teaching, history taking and clinical examination will be done, and discussion. And clinical skill lab, as this is practical procedure, the learner first observe the procedure, then they are in a better position to perform it themselves. The teacher shows the equipment and perform the procedure on a dummy, including the sterile techniques, explaining it step by step while performing the procedure, valuable tips and hints to be provided. This is the plan which I am making before starting to teach the topic of acute appendicitis. Illicit performance. Allow the student to use and perform responding. Now, obviously, when you've taught, then provide them opportunity to perform. The teacher can allow the learner to apply the knowledge or skill learned before formal examination through case presentation, simulation, role playing, so many ways. It allows the learner to practice without penalty and receive further instruction, remedial and clarification so that his concept improve, so that he can correct his schema, and so that we know he has understood the knowledge, he knows how to perform the skill and has developed or modified the acquired attitude. Example, in case of acute appendicitis, 6th event, illicit performance, 3 sessions. So at the end of the lecture, I am going to give MCQ and oral questionings. At the end of bedside session, I will ask the student to examine the patient and discuss the management of the case with the student. In clinical skill lab, I will ask the student to demonstrate the skill of taking the temperature. Obviously, when they are listening performance, the 6th event, the 7th should follow, which is providing feedback. Give information informative feedback which is going to reinforce what they have learned. The teacher provides feedback to assist the learning of the content or skill. The purpose of feedback is to allow learners to reinforce the information in the long-term memory. Taking example again of many citers, 7th event, provide feedback on performance. At the end of lecture, I will tell them which MCQs they did right, which MCQs were wrong, out of say one best of MCQ, why this option is the most likely answer. At the end of this session, inform what was done correctly during history taking, what was done correctly during examination, what were missed in history taking, and what steps they did not perform correctly. And of clinical examination, again, I will inform them what was done correctly and incorrectly when they were taking the temperature. And once now, after going through this thing, I know that I'm pretty sure that the students have understood the knowledge, skill, and attitude domains of learning related to appendicitis. Then comes examination, aid assessing performance, because that will help not only they also determine the level of learning. Now things are in the long-term memory. Now we want to give them an examination and we want to know actually what was the level of learning. If you remember Bloom's technology, do they only remember? Do they understand? Do they apply the learning? Can they analyze the learning, what they have learned? Can they synthesize? Can they judge or not? What I want in these cases that they should not only apply, they should also make a judgment on their learning to what the patient has. So therefore, this is going to be clear whether the students have achieved the instructional objectives or specific learning outcome. It will determine learner's level of achievement of the learning objective. For example, the examinations, there will be written exam and there will be objective structured clinical exam to assess skill and attitude. 10 one best type MCQs, 4 options. In OSCE, 4 station, 1 station case history taking, 1 examination plus differential diagnosis, 1 management, and 1 station of temperature taking. 4 stations. Now, if a student should pass, a student passed that, I know they have achieved learning outcome. I know also this thing, if an opportunity is not provided to them to practice this thing in future, they are going to forget. This is how long-term memory works. I also know this thing, the context is going to change, the patients are going to change, so they have to use this information which they have in different context, in the different context also. So therefore, the last step, enhance retention and transfer, provide students the opportunity to apply the knowledge and skill in a new situation. The student should apply knowledge and skill to real life or current event anticipated in the learner's professional practice. Student can apply the new information to familiar context to personalize the information. So, what I am going to do is, I am going to send patients to the emergency department and wards where patient of acute appendicitis come and apply so that they can enhance their retention and the things could continue. So what I have done is, just to summarize, I have tried to explain to you 9 steps or 9 events of instructional designs of Gagne, which are: number 1, gain attention; number 2, state learning outcome; number 3, activate the prior knowledge; number 4, provide stimulus; number 5, provide guidance; number 6, elicit then performance, not only elicit performance, then obviously the feedback, then assessment, and then enhancement and flow. And since Gagne's model, instructional design, the basis is information processing model, how the information processing works. For each step, not only I have explained through an actual example of acute appendicitis, and not only that, I've also told you the mental process involved which leads to application and the advantage. And after all, do remember, once you have made this plan, according to this plan, you have taught the students, then do sit down and reflect what went well and what went wrong, then make strategies to improve what needs improvement in the next designing, planning the lesson, as in this case, acute appendicitis. And then the cycle continues and the life moves on and you tend to improve. The student becomes better and better. Why? Because he's doing everything according to the established educational theories, instructional theories, and great Gagne's 90 events of instruction. Thank you very much. I hope this video helps you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.